Good morning, everyone. It's Jen here, and welcome to this week's episode of Walking the Path. Our guest today is Teressa Fisk. Good morning, Teressa.
Hello, how are you?
Did I get your name right? Is it Teressa?
Yes, it's Teressa.
It is Teressa?
Yes.
Excellent. It's just spelled a little differently to what I'd normally see.
And look, it's so many different versions, and if you're my mum, she says it totally different again. So
all good. Okay. Well, we are talking about a topic today which affects so many women, which is all about creating a balanced lifestyle. Now, Teressa, you are a holistic business and lifestyle mentor, and you're passionate about integrating personal and professional life so that women can be the best version of themselves, I guess, and have an abundant and fulfilling, successful life on both fronts, business and personal. What made you go down that path of becoming a holistic business and lifestyle mentor?
yeah, well, it's like everything. It's been such a journey. I've come from a very big corporate background. I had my first manager job when I was 16, and I pretty much had that career kind of work ethic the whole way through my life. And the last sort of corporate job I had was in a bank for 8 years, and it was very structured, very high pressure. It was very intense, and now that I look back on it, I realize that I used to burn myself out constantly, but I just didn't know it. I thought I was just, that's how it was supposed to be. And then after I had my son, I don't know. I know they say it, kids change things, but he definitely did. And I realized that in that kind of a job, you really can't have any sort of a life outside that job. Yeah. So I wasn't getting to see my son, was burning out constantly. So I kind of went on a little journey of my own, started to study as a health coach, but I couldn't quite kick that business off because I just didn't really know how to run a business. There was no handbook. So I kind of, was just dipping my toe in different things, and I ended up helping the other health coaches set their business up, because that's what I was awesome at. That's what I've been doing all my life, was business. So I helped them with all their techie stuff and set out doing that side of business. And just over the last couple of years, helping my clients in that holistic space, I've also noticed that they're all the same as everyone's, a lot of women, we're all in the same boat. We keep burning ourselves out. Yeah. And I started realizing I was bringing a lot of my health coaching and lifestyle coaching that I'd studied in with these clients as well. So I'm very passionate about it because I've had burnouts in both my corporate life and even in my entrepreneurial life. And I just, very passionate about helping people be able to find that balance and know that you don't need to always have to be busy. Like, you can have downtime and enjoy it.
It's so important, and I can totally relate. I came from a corporate background as well, and a woman trying to make it in a man's world is go, 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 go. Men have a 24-hour hormone cycle, so for them, they get up every day. It's the same thing every day, consistently, over and over, and they're great at doing that. That's what they're designed and made to do. But for women, we don't operate like that. And when we're thrown into these corporate jobs, or not, they don't necessarily have to be corporate jobs. It's just, a normal business, normal job in this day and age. Women are struggling so incredibly much. And it's no wonder that so many of us are suffering from depression and anxiety and, as you say, exhaustion, and trying to wear all the different hats, isn't it? Trying to be, the best mother on earth. Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I never win Mother of the Year award.
Me neither.
I'm always like, oh, crap, is there something on at school today? Oh, it's always the day of or the day before I go, I need to do something, but we're trying to be the best mother. We're trying to, still be the homemaker and a wife, but still work out who we are in the world and have this identity of us as well.
Yeah.
It's very, very
I
difficult.
actually was recently speaking to a friend of mine. She's got 2 children, and she's usually in a full-time job, and she was just saying to me, like, isn't it funny how we've gone out and we follow our dreams and do our career path, but we're very still, I guess, programmed in a way that when we're home, we're the homemaker, and we're still doing all this stuff. So we've kind of just added this extra thing onto the pile, but we're very much still, in most cases as well, expected to still look after those other elements in the home.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so what does a balanced lifestyle look like to you?
Well, for me, it is making sure that you have time out for yourself, because one of the big things and the common things I see is that we are all in. When we start our business, we're all in, and we will do whatever we need to do, the hours we'll need to do to make it work, because nobody wants to fail, and it's this big failure thing that we put on our shoulders. Yeah. So basically having balance is really knowing that it also sort of very much comes back to the boundaries. So knowing that your boundaries are, this is my work time, this is my me time, and then also this is my family time, and not feeling guilty for having those other times, not feeling guilty if you need to. Like, I know you and I both had, sick bubbers yesterday. So back when I worked in my old job, I would have felt so guilty. I would have had the mobile phone there still taking calls while I was looking after my son. But, it's all about knowing that it's okay to have some time to you or family time. And when you go back to work or back into your business, knowing that you will be giving it 100%, and you will be more so giving it 100% than if you were burning yourself out 24/7 working on it.
I totally agree. I'm a very big advocate for teaching women about how to work in alignment with their hormone cycle, which gives them the downtime when their bodies are telling them this is our cycle. This is when you need to have downtime and not work through it, and then get more productive as the hormones rise and as the energies rise, etc. And I've found since doing that, I say that I'm consistently inconsistent, because that's what it sort of is like. There's a consistency there, but it's over a much longer period than it is in the norm, or it is for men. But to me, it's consistent, and it gives me that downtime when I need it, and it allows me to, work when I know I'm going to be productive. But it gives you so much clarity. It gives you so much clarity. That downtime gives you that, it's clarity, it's confidence, it's understanding, it's so much, it's rest, rejuvenation. And when you come out of that, you are so much more productive than you could ever be just trying to push through all the time.
Absolutely. And a lot of what you were just saying as well, it definitely all comes back to listening to our bodies and listening to us. And there really is no separation, especially when you're an entrepreneur running your own business. There's no separation between you and that business in that physical sense, because you are wearing all the hats. You're still having your own personal space. So it's about just listening to your body. And if your body is saying to you, you need a downtime today, do it. And it's also, very much being very intuitive with the ebbs and flows of what's happening, and just not stressing so much about it's like when you're working on a project and you're sitting there staring at it, and you might not be able to fix that one last thing, and the more you stare at it, it doesn't help it. You need to step away.
Step away, walk away.
Get clarity and come back.
Totally. Okay, and what about, you're a single mother, so I can imagine that the amount of responsibility, or the pressures, or the I guess the normal day-to-day things of being a mum and all that sort of stuff, is it more intense, do you think, than for women like myself that's in a relationship?
I think we're very similar, you know, like I think it's we all have the same pressures, and it's very much how we cope with them and deal with them. I often feel like I'm very lucky in a sense, you know, it's lucky in a sense that I have shared custody of my son. So half the week I get to feel like I'm single and no children. Half the week I have my beautiful son. Obviously, the very downside of that is that I only get to see my son half a week.
Sure.
But school's helping that because I get to pick him up every day now.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for me. But there is downsides. On the household side of things, it's a bit the same. On those days that he's there, things are, you know, you're the mower, you're the cleaner, you're the the everything. But then I find when he goes to his dad's, I really just don't even focus on anything around here. And that's actually when I focus a lot of myself, like the time on myself and back into my business. So I really get to shift during the week rather than having to juggle it very much every day full on. Yeah.
That sounds better to me.
I know, I feel bad sometimes, and because I get the weekends, I get Friday, Saturday nights off, but I'm just not that kind of girl. I don't even make the most of it.
Yeah. Okay. And so we've spoken a bit about burnout this morning already, and just how common burnout is amongst women, whether they're running their own business or whether they're working full time or even working part-time. Like, burnout is just such a big thing. So what are some of the things that you can recommend and suggest for us to do to help prevent that?
Yeah, look, I think one of the main things for me was setting boundaries. I think a lot of the time we are trying to please a lot of people. It seems to be a natural instinct, I think, of women as well. We try and sort of help everyone and make sure everyone's okay. But it's about setting clear boundaries. So setting work boundaries, setting your private boundaries. And also when you're setting those private boundaries, making sure that you're putting in some self-love and some self-care elements. It's not all just about being clean cut. You need to make sure you're still having that downtime for you. Another thing that's really helped for me, I had really bad depression after my son for probably 2 or 3 years, and I changed my eating a lot because, as we know, you know, food putting into our body really affects our gut health, and our gut health then affects our mind. Yes. So I did change a lot of my self-care in that sense, my nutrition. I also, and I know you're a big lover of the doTERRA too, but just oils in general. Now I feel when I'm starting to get stressed, I've got all these little tools now that I use. So I either go and meditate, I do some breathing, or I use one of the oils that sit next to my desk here, or I go for a walk. Yeah, so it's just about knowing what works for you, and then having those things in, you know, having those tools in your little toolbox. So if you can feel yourself starting to get stressed or overworked, or there's things there, go straight back to your boundaries and have a look and see whether you are having enough time for you. Yeah. And then if it's something that's happening right away, then have a little toolbox there of things that you can do. So the breathing techniques help amazing. It's about, you know, snapping yourself back into the present. And that's something that really resonated with me, because I think sometimes when we're getting anxious and, you know, we're feeling that sort of overwhelm and stuff come in, it's because our mind is racing ahead, probably making stories up of things that could happen. So it's about snapping back into the present and just working on what we can, knowing that the world's not going to, you know, fall apart if we just don't get that one report in, or if we don't spend that extra half an hour on that project. So I definitely, you know, working on your little toolbox of things to help prevent it, and really just knowing what your clear boundaries are between yourself and your business, so that you've got a nice balance there.
Yeah, that's probably sort of my down. Yeah. 2:30.
The boundaries.
Oh shit! I've got to go get the kids. Keep working. 10 to 3. Oh, better go get the kids now. I know the bell's ringing.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm 3 minutes from the school, so by the time I get there, the kids are only just coming out. But I find that I'm still in my mind's still in that space of work. I haven't given myself that time to separate business stuff and work stuff and passion to switch over to being present for the kids. So I'll quite often pick the kids up, and I'm still off with the fairies thinking of something else. Yeah. And the kids are trying to talk to me, and I'm like, huh? What? Yeah.
I have a really good tip for that, actually, and this is such a nerdy corporate thing that I like to bring into my life, but time blocking is actually such a great tool, and it can be used for personal and business. And this is how I got back into the gym last year, is that I time blocked it in, because that was the only way my mind that was programmed by my calendar could fit that into my day. Because we say we're too busy, but if we time blocked things out, we'd have more time. Sure. So what I do is my working hours are actually from 9 till 2. Now, I drop Reese off and usually get home by 8:30, but it gives me half an hour to have a coffee, chill out, and then all of the work is done by 2, and then it gives me another half an hour to just relax. Sometimes I do a little bit of, bits and pieces, but I know in my mind that 9 till 2 are my business hours, and anything outside that is really, extra stuff. But I've now trained myself to have that shutdown time just before school. I know it's hard though, because we are programmed in to be switched on.
I do know, there's been times where I have done it at 2:30. I'll just go outside and I'll sit in the sun, just, out in the garden for 15 minutes. But I guess there's some sort of level of resistance. It's probably the fear of missing out, thinking, as you say, we are programmed to think that for us to be productive, we have to be doing something. So it's really, I've got to work harder at flicking the switch between that. So.
Yeah. And look, because I was the biggest corporate cheerleader. I was in my office in the city. I worked in the Brisbane city for 8 years, in the office at 6 o'clock every morning, and I was the last to leave, first to get in, last to leave. And I was just such a cheerleader, and I couldn't switch my brain off, for that stuff. And it took me to have a huge burnout last year, where I walked from my office to the lounge room after a session, and the whole room I felt like I had vertigo, or I was on a boat or something. Everything was spinning, and I was literally grounded on the couch for 2 hours, couldn't move. And I was just physically exhausted. To me, though, I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel like work was any strat. I had just burnt myself out, and then I had to take like a week or so off because I just couldn't physically get back into it. I have not had a moment like that now for over a year, because I had to sort of look at things and put things in a bit of different perspective. And so the time blocking thing really helped me, because it's something I resonated with. And it can help sort of just start. You can still use those same principles that we've had built in us, but instead of just having it all sort of blocked in as business, know that personal self-love, self-care stuff is what the boss of the company needs.
Sure. Helinda's saying that she loves time blocking too, and I think it's a really good tool to, as you say, to try and get in the habit of using to help with those boundaries and that separation. Yeah,
absolutely. It's perfect. I love it.
So you were talking before about, when we start to feel certain things rise within us, like anxiety and things like that, to stop and recognize, okay, I need something now to bring me back to the present, whether it's oils, whether it's meditating, breathing, whatever it is. What in your experience is that, I guess, that space where we fail to recognize what's going on and we keep pushing through?
Yeah. So for me, a lot of mine is my mind. Yes, that's a tongue twister. But it's a lot of the time, it's my overthinking stuff. And I could let my mind go to crazy places if I wanted to. But it's really about knowing that, and someone told me a couple of, like last year or something, whenever your mind starts going like that, to say, it's just a story. It's just a story, that hasn't happened. And it kind of snaps you back into to reality. But it's true. Like, I think sometimes we stress and worry about what could happen rather than being in the present moment. So, yeah, like as I mentioned, I used to have really bad depression, and a lot of that was just me going too far and thinking too much about it. So if I could give you, any tip, would just be, when you start feeling like you're going into something like that, just remind yourself that it's just a story and it hasn't actually happened. And I find that sort of helps pull me back into reality.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes too if we push through those sort of feelings because we're trying to push them down rather than, accepting that that's the way we feel and allowing us to feel it. Because one thing that I've discovered is when we allow ourselves to feel something fully, when we allow it to come up and just to sit with it and feel it to its full extent and accept it for what it is, acknowledge it, it then moves on and dissipates and it doesn't hold the power anymore. Yeah. Whereas when you try to suppress it, it's like it's locked down in its cave and it's holding the keys, controlling how you actually act and behave.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I go through with my clients is we work on the fears, because we've all got those fears in our business, and it's working on the fear. So it's pinpointing the fear and then going, okay, well, if that was to happen, what would that feel like? And what's the worst case scenario if that was to happen? And it's really about nipping it sort of on the bud then. But definitely, as you said, really facing that fear and facing what it is and letting it happen, because you do want to express it. I honestly feel like the reason my depression came was because I had like 30 years of bottled up crap because I was taught to keep it in, don't show emotion, don't be sad, don't be this. And so I never had an opinion. I was the person who tried to fix everyone and the peacekeeper. And then I think after I had my son, I feel like I just let it all happen.
Well, I totally connect with what you're saying there. And I think, again, that's quite common for a lot of us as well. We have, 30 years down the track, we explode almost like a volcano, because we've kept it all in. We've kept it all in and it's under pressure. And, when things are under pressure, it's got to come out. So.
And just like anything, emotions in, it's also not good for your body. It really, it's like, the food thing. You put bad food in, it doesn't come out the same way as good food, and it sits in there and it sort of festers. And that's the same with your emotions. If you've got things in there that haven't come out, they're kind of bottling in there, and it's just not a good thing. You just want it to be out. And I definitely think a lot of that, being honest and true to myself has definitely helped me a lot more as well with all of that, because I do speak my truth, whether people like it or not.
Good on you, honey.
Put in a nice manner. If I'm feeling something, I will let someone know in a nice way. But for me, it's therapeutic. I need to. Otherwise, I actually will go to bed and think about it, and it won't sit right here, and I'll know, okay, you didn't say what you're supposed to say, so the next, day I'll get out there and I'll say what I needed to say. So it's very important to get it out.
I find that that's the exact same thing when we know that we haven't acted in a particular way towards someone, and we feel that we need to acknowledge that and apologize. The longer you leave it, it's more like the toxicity of the emotions just build and build and build, and the only one you're hurting is yourself, because you're the one that's holding it in. It's not hurting anyone else, and it's almost like you've got to bite the bullet and acknowledge what you've done, acknowledge how you're feeling, get it out in the open and let it go. And once you do that, again, the toxicity of those emotions just dissipate.
Yeah, I like to think of a lot of those things as bricks, because they weigh you down. You're feeling those emotions and it's weighing you down. And a lot of the feeling I have lately is light and freeness, because you're not having those bricks weigh you down. You're letting go of them. So for me, I kind of feel like I'm flying a bit more higher. My vibration, I guess, in my life, I feel a lot more happier, and because I'm not holding on to all these, I feel like I had wheelbarrows of bricks I was just hanging on to. I don't know what for.
The work of getting rid of the bricks.
Yes. But it's very, it's really empowering to let go of all of that stuff, and that it's just such a great way to move forward with a lot of things, with your life, your business, whatever it is just to let go of those things that you feel are holding you back or down, and just take those steps forward.
Totally. Hey, what does self-love mean to you?
For me, self-love means truly loving yourself, and this, I actually didn't know what that meant until I did some really crazy mirror work with myself last year. And even talking about it gets me emotional, because looking at yourself and telling yourself that you love you is actually very confronting. And I realized I didn't love myself. Self-love is truly loving myself, loving every part of myself, and not saying it and not meaning it. I love my body now, which I definitely didn't last year. I love, my mannerisms now, which I didn't last year. There was all these things I didn't like about myself last year, and I found it really hard to look at myself in the mirror. And for me, self-love is truly loving me and that person I am. And a lot of that came down to my self-care. So I started looking after myself better, and then I really started loving myself a bit more. So I was treating myself nicely. So
because it's so much more than going and getting your nails done, isn't it? And it's so much more than going and having a massage or a spray tan or whatever.
That stuff's beautiful as well.
Absolutely. But it is so much more than that, and I really resonate with that as well. Something that I've been discovering for myself as well is self-love. To me, also includes really acknowledging the amazing things and the gifts that you have to offer the world, and following those dreams and those deep desires. To me, that is a deep part of self-love as well.
Absolutely. Letting yourself be true to you. And something that's really helped on that journey for me as well is I do this little gratitude practice of a night. And this is actually great if you find it hard to sleep at night. This puts me to sleep real fast. I don't know why, but it takes your mind off thinking about other things. And you're just focusing on those good things, about those great things that happened that day. So I go to bed and I think about, what am I grateful for today? And I've been doing it with my little guy, actually, even though the other day he was grateful for ice cream. It was a start.
Love it.
Just going to bed and going, today I'm grateful because I got to go to the beach, or today I'm grateful for this. And for me, it's giving yourself thanks in a way as well, and being grateful for the amazing things that are happening in your life. And I feel like that all leads back into that self-love part as well, because you're saying thank you because we got to do this today. You know, we got to live this life, and I'm grateful to live in a house because I go. So every night, without a doubt, I say thank you for giving us a house. You know, it's just those things are the things that you know, really truly make your heart warm and your soul good, and that's the things that, you know, focus on to help you bring back that self-love.
Yeah, definitely. So before we went live today, I told you that I've discovered this book that I'm reading at the moment and I can't put it down, called Rise, Sister, Rise. And in there, Rebecca Campbell, I think her name is, the author, she talks about the difference between pressure and pleasure. And you know, when we were in corporate, everything was driven from pressure. And by the sounds of it, we've had a very similar journey over the last few years in starting a very different business, a more feminine, creative business that allows us to channel different aspects, I guess, of ourselves that we had not experienced very much of before. But we're still trying to do it and driving it from a pressure basis. We have to do this from, you know, because we need to do or whatever the case is, rather than the drive for doing it for pleasure. So I'm going to do this because I love doing it.
Yeah.
It fills my heart with joy.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Yeah, I think if you make your decisions like that, like, how can you go wrong?
That's exactly right, because it's all coming from the heart space, isn't it?
Although my heart kind of, you know, I don't think it ever steers me wrong, but it's a little bit too big sometimes, and I might kind of do things a little bit, you know, off center that may not give me the best results. But I'm still happy I did it, you know, because that's what my heart wanted. So
yeah. And okay, so what sort of rituals do you do in your personal self-care and self-love routine?
Yeah, well, I grew up we were very structured on training because my dad wanted us to be Olympians. And I hated it back then. Because
no pressure there. No pressure.
Yes. He made it very military, so I hated it. But funnily enough, it is the one thing now that makes my mind just clear. And like if I go for a run, or, you know, I try and do an hour something every day, and that actually clears my mind so much because I'm focusing on trying to breathe or run or, you know, whatever it is that I'm doing. So that for me is a huge part, and it's still time blocked in my diary, even though it's been a year. That time is specifically set for that activity or whatever it is for an hour a day. So that's a huge ritual for me. The mornings I have my little guy, I get up early and do it. And then by the time he gets out of bed, I'm finishing, and then he comes out and does a bit of yoga with me at the back, which is awesome. So I try and just, you know, do some kind of movement practice. And then I try and take myself out, like on a lady date, just me, go and have lunch somewhere or go to the beach, because the beach is my happy place. But I just kind of do those things that I love to do. I try and add a little bit of that into my life every day, and that's sort of the great rituals for me that work for me.
Yeah, wonderful. And I think finding the ritual that works for you is so important, and not thinking that you have to do this particular sort of thing because everyone else is doing that. It's really a journey to find what works for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things we do in the balanced entrepreneur space is we look at a whole heap of different things that you could do. And then it's about testing things out, because I've tested heaps of things out. You know, I did a lot of meditation for a couple of months. I did bits and pieces, but I found that what I do now is what works the best for me. So it's just about testing out a few things. And then, like I mentioned before, adding them to your toolbox so that you know that you've got them there. And yeah, finding what works for you and makes you sort of feel like you're giving yourself that self-love that day.
Yeah. And alive. It makes you feel alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes you feel, I actually get sort of re-energized and excited to get into my day if I've already had that time to myself in the morning.
Yeah.
If I, for some reason, don't get that time in the morning, I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel right. So I feel like it sort of energizes you for your day and it clears your mind ready to take on anything, as opposed to being sort of cloudy still and after trying to rush the kids to school and juggle lunch boxes and
Absolutely. So I'm a morning person. I'm in bed pretty early at night time and I love getting up early of a morning, and that's predominantly when I like to do, go for my walk or whatever. But how do you personally find the motivation to continue getting up early in winter? Because this is where I have major struggle, and I'm actually on the verge of going, you know what, I'm going to give up the pressure of thinking that I have to be up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning to do the same stuff, and maybe I'll just do it after I've dropped the kids off at school.
Yeah, look, and it's all about working out what works for you. I'm the same. I'm a morning person. I did struggle a bit this morning because my little guy was all cuddled in and we'd been up twice during the night because may have had too much to drink before we went to bed. And that's hard when you've got broken sleep and you still have to get up. But for me, I have a bit of a goal in mind at the moment, so that's helping me push forward. But I have noticed this week that I'm getting a bit bored of the training I'm doing at home. And so I'm now looking to join back up at a gym, which is what I did last winter. And then that helped motivate me. And I'm also looking at dropping Reese off at school and then going to the gym. So doing the same as you, because it's about what works for you and fits into the time you've got, sort of thing. But really it has to be happy for you. If you want an extra hour sleep, then just sleep. And fit that stuff in, when after school, if that sort of works, maybe give it a try. And if you feel like it's not working, then have to go back into it in the morning. But it's about what works for you. And at the moment it's okay, but I have started to realise that I need a bit of a change up and a shake up. So that's why I've sort of started looking at something different as well.
Yeah, that's great advice actually. But it's recognising that you feel this particular way around your exercise or whatever it is that you're doing, and acknowledge it and find it, switch it up a bit.
Yeah.
Way. And it might work differently for each season that we're in as well, obviously winter it's colder, we're more tired, we want to stay more rugged up, we lack a lot of motivation in winter to do those sorts of things, and that's where in the past for me that's where I just fall over into a big pile, because I just go, it's winter, I can put on a few kilos.
It's true. We do feel, it is easy to sort of fall into that, I think. But last year around this time is when I got fully motivated to get back into it. And I think so far I've lost about 16 kilos. And it was all just, most of it, not just exercise, it's lifestyle. I'm happier. So I'm like, I let go of some bricks that were probably worth about 5 kilos each. But a lot of it all mixes in together. But when I was doing that in winter, there was nobody in the gym. So I had it to myself. So it was kind of cool. And I feel like that's where I want to be. Yeah, I want to sort of do that again this year. I feel like I'm missing that element now. Whereas in summer, I'm a bit of a crazy person that loves running at 4 o'clock in the morning when it's still dark. And then I get to the beach and the sun's coming up. So that's what I love to do. So, it's about sort of just adjusting it to what you love and what makes you happy, really.
It's funny, when I picked the kids up yesterday and we had to duck down to the shops quickly, and there's a gym above the Woolworths where we go, and my boy said, Mum, can we go up there? And it was the stairs to the gym. I said, no, that's the gym. We don't go up there. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I keep forgetting that there's a gym actually really quite close to home. And I'm not a big gym junkie because I'd prefer to be outside, but maybe it is something that, that thought went through my mind of maybe that's something I could do for winter. So I'm going to take the time that we're speaking about that again now as something I need to maybe do.
And you know what I like to do too? Even when I'm at a gym, I still like to leave 1 or 2 days as adventure days, and have those days set aside for like the mountain or the beach or whatever. You don't have to be locked in there forever in the gym.
Love it. Love it. Look, I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you, Teressa. I know that when we first met, I think we met online before we met in person a few months ago, but we really clicked and we've been meaning to catch up. So thank you so much for taking some time to speak with the Leading Ladies community and myself this morning. And look, you've given us some really, really great advice and some tools and things there. So thank you so much, gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Is there an offer, a special offer or something that you wanted to offer out to the women, the Leading Ladies today?
Yeah. Well, I do a special blueprint session, which is the very first session that I do with my clients. And basically what it is we look at a lifestyle wheel, which is actually really interesting to do if you've never done one on yourself. And it's about just looking at the different elements of your life. And seeing where you may be feeling a little bit low and then just putting steps in place to work on those. So usually those sessions are 90 minutes and I can't actually remember what I gave you the other day, Jen. But
it's usually 200 for 90 minutes.
Yes, but for you ladies, it's 150. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So 90-minute blueprint session. So we go through all those elements and then we actually look at steps within those elements. So if it's nutrition, we can go through and look at your nutrition. If it's movement, we look at that. Stress, business, all of that stuff. So yeah, that's the special promo just for you special ladies.
Oh, thanks, gorgeous. What I might do is pop that promo into the comments. Would that be okay? And put your email address in there. So if anyone's interested, if they're watching this back later as well, they can contact you. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally fine.
Excellent. Well, that's about it. I'm going to go back to my my book now because I can't put it down. And I'm feeling like I need to finish it before I move on with my next project. So
yeah, definitely listen to that.
All right, lovely. Great talking to you. Take care and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Are you still there?
Yes.